Good evening. So we're continuing in Yaakov Masechta Shabbos, and the following story is related, where in a brayse that Rabbi Yehuda said, "Pam achas Shabbatenu b'aliyas beis Noza b'loid." One time we spent Shabbos in the attic of the house of Nodza, the fellow's name, in the city of Lud. Ve'eviu lanu shveferes shel beya. He brought to us the hollow shell of an egg. Now we're talking before about how to light Shabbos candles and how not to light it, and various restrictions that exist because a person may touch it by mistake, or he wants to adjust the light, or even take some oil and so on. But he gave us this shell of an egg, umileinuha shemen. We filled it up with oil, v'nikavnuha, we put a hole in it, v'nachnu al pianer, we put it on top of the candle. Basically, we used it to be the provider of the oil for this candle.
The candle wasn't paraffin. It was.
They were using oil, but the wick was coming somehow attached, connected to that shell. Rabbi Tarfon and this Canaan were there, but they didn't tell us anything. Which normally, if you have Chazal sitting somewhere and they watch you do a certain act, which you're not sure if it's right or wrong, if they didn't say anything, that means they agree with it. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that normally you're concerned that this type of method of putting an egg, which is a thin shell or whatever, you may adjust it. It's basically you're having these makeshift candles or candle holders, which is not a good idea. You have the oil there; it's not really made for it. You put a hole in it. All these things could cause a person to adjust it. You have to have the designated thing, which is safe, which is not. You're not concerned that a person is going to go and do anything with it. So basically, normally I would assume that this is forbidden. But because they didn't tell us anything, this is a proof that I'm allowed to do it. Amrulai misham raya. From here is a proof. Meaning, there's no proof from here. Why? Shani beis nazar dezuzin hein. You want to bring a proof that because Rabbi Tarfon and the elders that were there didn't say anything, like don't do it, somehow you're allowed to do these types of things with candles. Really, you're not allowed to. They didn't say anything because the people of this beis nazar, which is a family or a home, there's a reason. They were very careful. They were quick. They were on top of it. They were organized, and we're not worried that by mistake they're going to go and adjust it. So to be meicha someone that's doing that, when really it's not a problem, they just kept quiet. So we're back to square one, that you do have to be careful about certain things on Shabbos, namely the lighting of candles, how it's done, what you use to hold the oil, because of a chashash, a concern, you may adjust it or move it over. It's not really designed for that, and it may not work so well. Gemara continues. Oven Tzipeira, a fellow named Oven from Tzipeira. Tzipeiri was the name of the city. Gorar Safsala bi Lusa de Shesha le'elam Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar. He was schlepping a bench on a floor. No, the floors used to be. It was typical to have just an open earth floor. And before Shabbos, they would pour sand on there or something to make it nicer. But it was basically dry mud, earth. This case, it was marble. So he's schlepping this bench on a. It might be. He's schlepping this on the thing of on the floor, which is made out of marble. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar, Omar lei. So he told him, Isha teikilach kiddush siku lechavraya Rabbi Yehuda, nafik minei churba. So here's the deal. He's schlepping a bench on a floor, which is not really a problem. Normally, you can't schlep a bench on an earthen floor because you're gonna basically make trenches, and that's not allowed. But this case, it's not really a earthen floor. It's stone. Now there is a chashash that if I do it on a marble floor, I'm going to come to schlep benches on a typical floor, which in those days typical was earth, and it's going to cause this grooves. So he told him, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar told him, if I'm going to keep quiet the way my friends were quiet to Rabbi Yehuda, who said the story about lighting candles in the attic of what's his name, of Beis Nazza, then you're going to say that I'm okay with it, because that's normally what happens. If a Rav is sitting somewhere, a Chacham is sitting somewhere, and he doesn't say anything, I have to speak up. Because now, technically it's not a problem because it's marble. But they're going to say, oh, we get a lot of schlep benches. Nafik b'nei churba, a destruction is going to come out of this. A problem is going to happen out of this. Gzeira ilisa de sheisha atu ilisa de oma. He said you're not allowed to schlep benches on this marble floor because it's going to cause potentially that people that don't have marble floors, which I guess not everyone did, even today not everyone has marble floors, you're going to end up schlepping benches and cause holes. Now, just to be clear, there's a general machlekes about a davar she'eini miskavin. On Shabbos, if you're doing something, for example, you're walking outside, and there happens to be some bugs on the floor, okay, and you're killing them. Is it a problem to walk outside? You might kill bugs. You have to watch and make sure there's no bugs on the floor. So there's a few different formulas here, or principles, that make it okay. Number one, you don't want to kill bugs. If your goal is to kill the cicadas or whatever, then it's a problem, right? But it's not your goal. So it's eini miskavin. Now, within eini miskavin, you need to have a setup that it's not for sure it's going to happen. If it's absolute for sure that you're going to kill bugs, even if it's not your intent, you're still responsible to make sure it doesn't happen. If you have both of these things together, it's not miskavin, not looking to do it, and it's not for sure. Right? It's called psik reish. It's not a psik reish. It's not for sure that if you cut off the head, the expression is if you cut off a head and the person dies, the animal dies, whether you wanted it or not. If you do that task or that action, it's going to happen. So walking outside is not for sure going to kill bugs. So as long as you're not looking to do that, you're fine. Schlepping a bench on earth is going to make grooves. Now, machlekes is, do I want to make grooves or not? Now, I don't want to make grooves. What the machlekes is, do you say davar she'eini miskavin is a problem or not? Okay. Reish knishta devatzra grar safsalo le'ila me'Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabba. The head of the Sanhedrin, I guess, or the gathering. It was really the head of the person that was in charge, not the Sanhedrin, I'm sorry. The one that's in charge of people sitting down in shul, in the Beis Medrash, who's sitting where, bringing them in, taking them out. It was like an attendant, someone responsible for what goes on in the Beis Medrash. He schlepped some benches, I guess he was setting it up, and he schlepped some benches in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbah. It's called Rabbi Yirmiyah HaGadol, the great Rabbi Yirmiyah. Amar Lei, he said, Keman, who you going according to? Like, must have something you're relying on to schlep benches on Shabbos on the ground. He said, he's going according to Rabbi Shimon. You could say that Rabbi Shimon said that for big benches you're allowed to because you can't really schlep those things easily, so you don't have to make a gzeira for it. But small ones, you can. He didn't say that about small ones. So basically, when it comes to very big, heavy furniture, they allowed it because no one's going to say, oh, you could just schlep it. You think this through, you make sure it's done right, you're not just schlepping things along. So we don't make the gzeira for gedolim. But ketanim, which is the benches that you're schlepping, they're a problem. And you can't just go schlepping benches on the earthen floor. Omar Rav Yehuda b'reid Rabbi Shmuel bar Shila mishmei de Rav. Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Shila, another here says Shilat, said in the name of Rav, Bikshu Chachamim lignei sefer Keheles. Chachamim wanted to hide, which means get rid of, bury, the sefer of Keheles, Ecclesiastes. Why? There's things there that are contradictory to other areas in Torah. Now, if not for, as we'll soon see, they decided not to do it. But normally they wanted to do it. Why didn't they hide it? Now, in general, when you find contradictions in Psukim, you could explain them. When you find contradictions about Musar and ethical, moral behavior, and you find contradictions there, that could be very problematic. The contradictions could cause people to misbehave. So why didn't they do it? Because the beginning of it is Divrei Torah, as opposed to Musar things, and the end is Divrei Torah. So because of that, they didn't go and hide it. The beginning of it is Divrei Torah, because at the beginning of Kehelah says, what is the benefit of a person, all of his toil and effort, that he toils under the sun? Which basically means you should be involved in learning Torah. Rabbi Yana explained, when you work things that are under the sun, which means after the sun was created, things that come afterwards, which is basically the world that we live in, was created after the day that the sun was created, then there's no benefit to you. You put in tremendous effort in these things that are just vanity, nonsense, gashmis, right? But you do have a Yisrain if you put an effort in things that were before the sun. What came before the sun? Torah was created before the world was created, even the beginning of creation of the world. And therefore, if a person puts in amal and Torah and a mitzvahs, then it is beneficial. But you see that the beginning of Kehelis is speaking about Divrei Torah, and therefore they were not gainas. They didn't hide this thing. The Chsiv, as it says, Seif Davar Kol Nishma, Sefer Divrei Torah. The end of Kehelis is also about Divrei Torah. Where do you find that? The Chsiv, because it says Seif Davar Kol Nishma. In the end, it will be, everything will be heard. What does this mean? Kizak Kol Adam. My Kizak Kol Adam. What does it mean? This is the whole person. The whole entire world was only created for this person who is keeping Torah and behaving properly. Okay, so the pasuk is like this: Save davar kol nishma. I said, Kim Yirava is the space of Shmer Kizak Kol Adam. The person that is a Yirah Shamayim and keeping mitzvahs, this is the whole person. Meaning, the whole world was created for this person, as we'll soon see. In general, Yirah Shamayim means a person who's concerned, is very, very careful not to go against what Hashem wants. So if Torah says something, Yirah Shamayim means he's fearful, he's very careful to make sure he's zohir, that he shouldn't violate anything that's there. So the pasuk is implying that someone that has Yiras Hashem, Yiras Kim Yira, and therefore he keeps mitzvahs, this is Kol Ha'adam. What's Kol Adam mean? My Kizeh Kol Adam. The entire world was only created for this person. Now, it's a very strong statement. You're saying that the whole world was created, or everything here was created for the person that's a Yirah Shamayim and keeps mitzvahs. And somehow the rest of the world is like secondary. I think one of the questions is, Rabbi Abba Bar Kana Amar, it doesn't mean that the whole world was created just for him and the rest is whatever. Rather, the whole world is equal to this person. If you put him on a scale, this one that has Yirah Shamayim and proper, and you put the rest of the world on the other side of the scale, he's going to be equal to that. Okay, it's another explanation which is not as strict or extreme as saying the whole world was created just for him. Now we know, the Gemara tells us that, it's brought in Tanya, that the person is chayiv to say, B'shvili nivra ha'olam. In general, what we're discussing here is why the world was created. But a person has an obligation to say the whole world was created for me. And there's many different explanations in that. Among them, a person is required to say the world it's here for me. In other words, everything that I need to fulfill my avodah, my service of Hashem, was created that I should be able to do it. Everything around me is tools to help me. The other one is I'm created for the world, which means I'm created to be able to impact this world. It was created for me to change it, to improve it, and so on. Shimon ben Azai Eimer, V'amilo Shimon ben Zema Eimer. Shimon ben Azai says, other people say Shimon ben Zema says. The way that he understands, and the way that he explains this pasuk, Kizek Kol Ha'adam, that the entire world was created to be connected to this person, whether it means to listen or to attach. But the commentators say like this: if a person is going to be a Yirah Shamayim and learn all day, there's other things that have to happen in the world to function in a normal society. So it becomes like a partnership. Some of the other people do other things, and they were connected to listen. They were created to listen to him, to connect to him, be part of this person. Okay, these are parts that are, the beginning is Torah and the end is Torah, and therefore, even though in Koheles you have things that are contradictory, nonetheless, and therefore they wanted to conceal, to hide, to bury Sefer Koheles. Basically, it shouldn't be available.
Who wanted to do that?
Chazal,
Why
or
them?
sages. Because they're the ones that have the
I thought the Romans might want to do
decision.
that.
Huh?
I thought the Romans might want to get rid of it.
They said there were psukim there that were contradictory. and therefore they said they're not going to. They wanted to conceal it. They didn't, because the beginning was Torah and the end was Torah, as we just said. It talks about learning Torah in the beginning, where we said, "My Yisra and the other Mechal Amolei." What benefit do you have from all the toil? It's worthless. Except this is before the sun, which refers to Torah. And the end talks about the Kim Yerav as in space of Shmer, and that's about the idea of learning Torah. So because of that, we didn't conceal it. What are the contradictions in Kehelas? My Dvar of Seisen says, what are the contradictions? Ksivit says, Tev Kas Mischek. It says it's better anger than laughter. Okay, Uchsiv, and it also says, Mischek Amarti Mahilo. And to Schek I said that it's praiseworthy. So one pasuk says, anger is better than laughter. Now, if you don't understand the context, and you don't understand the explanations, it sounds like a contradiction to I said I praise laughter. Now, when a regular person learns it and he sees the contradictions, it could bring out some issues. They wanted to. It says that I praised joy. And it says in another pasuk, which is contradictory, what does joy do? So you're stuck here. You have contradictions. Is laughter a good thing? Is joy a good thing? Is it not a good thing? Now, loikashi, it's not a contradiction. It's not a question. Tev kas mischek. When the pasuk says it's good for anger, it's better than laughter. What it means is tev kas shakayas hakadosh baruch hu al tikkun be'olam hazeh mischek shemisachek hakadosh baruch hu l'shem be'olam hazeh. The anger that Hashem, so to speak, has on tzaddikim in this world is better than the laughter that Hashem gives to the Rishayim in this world. Basically, you have to know the context of what we're talking about when we say laughter and anger. The anger to tzaddikim is better than the laughter that the Rishayim had. With the Schek Amarti Mahilo, and to Schek I said, to laughter I said it's praiseworthy. It's talking about the laughter that Hashem laughs, or is playful, so to speak, with tzaddikim in the world to come. Okay, so we're talking about two different types of joy. But if you look at just on a surface level, it sounds contradictory. I praise joy. What type of simcha? When the pasuk says I praise joy is amazing, it means the joy of a mitzvah. The simcha mazayesa, and what does joy do? Meaning, what's the purpose of it? It's a simcha which is not for a mitzvah. Now, what does this teach you? We know that there's a mitzvah to serve Hashem with joy, right? And in general, simcha is a mitzvah. To teach you that the shechina, which means the divine presence, does not dwell, not among laziness, and not among sadness, and not laughter, which means just scoffing, which means, I guess, frivolity, and not from talking, which mean, and not from idle talk. Where is Shechina present? When there's joy of mitzvah, which means the power of happiness. When a person does a mitzvah and he does it with joy, and he brings a pasuk, V'atar chuli v'gemer. So you see that when there is simcha, it brings a tremendous benefit to the person. This is where Shechina dwells, and when it says better anger, it's referring to a certain type of anger, comparing it to a certain type of joy. But in general, Shechina, if you want to have Shechina, you have to have joy. Appropriate joy and proper joy and so on. Simcha shal mitzvah. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says a very interesting thing. Not only is simcha good when it comes to joy, when it comes to simcha is joy. When it comes to the Shechina only dwells when there's joy of mitzvah, but also l'dvar halacha. If you want to understand learning, the proper way to learn is to start with a joke. A person should begin with start with something that's joyful. It doesn't say joke, but joyful, in order to open up the heart, because you can't serve Hashem unless you have joy. And Rava says, and also for a good dream. If a person goes to sleep and he is besimcha, it says, Rashi says, if a person wants to have a good dream, then he should go to he has to go to sleep with joy, and through this they'll show him a good dream. So you see, in addition to simcha shal mitzvah, that's where the Shechina dwells. It's also regarding Dvar Halacha. One has to have simcha and Chalim Teiv, simcha, and should be happy.
So you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Like, share, subscribe.
How do I